In the bustling town of Sarila, a young man named Jaron grew up without ever knowing his mother. She had passed away giving birth to him. His father, a man named Dowrin, raised Jaron alone with help from his aunt, Marvi. Dowrin was a tireless man who owned a small convenience store. "Your mother was beautiful," he often told Jaron, tapping an old photograph with a wistful smile. Jaron believed him. He saw the love in his father's eyes every time her name was mentioned. Their home was modest, their days filled with work, and their evenings often ended with stories and laughter. For Jaron, life was simple, but filled with love. Marvi, his aunt, treated Jaron like her own. Her children were a bit older, but they all got along well. The store was like a second home to Jaron. After school he would sweep, stock shelves and help customers. "You'll take over this store one day," Dowrin would say, patting his shoulder. Over the years employees came and went. There was an old helper named Mr. Wong, who returned to China to care for his parents. Then came Max, a white college student who later graduated and moved on. Eventually, Dowrin hired a new assistant, a woman named Surin. She was 26, quiet and barely spoke the local dialect. Surin had fair skin and delicate features, and though she struggled with the language, she worked hard. At first she was sweet to Jaron. She called him little brother, and brought him candy from the back room. Dowrin seemed taken with her. His eyes sparkled when he spoke to her. Jaron didn't mind. "She's nice," he told Marvi one evening. "Maybe," Marvi said, but there was a sharpness in her eyes that made Jaron pause. Surin moved into their house a few months later after marrying Dowrin in a wedding funded by her wealthy family from abroad. After the wedding, everything shifted. Surin, who once giggled and played cards with Jaron, turned cold. "Don't touch the register," she snapped one day when he reached to help a customer. She forbade him from helping in the store altogether. "Go study," she'd say sharply, even when he tried to clean the shelves. Dowrin, now working longer hours than ever, didn't seem to notice the change. Slowly, Surin began bringing her relatives over from her home country. "Just helping them get started," she'd tell Dowrin with a sweet smile. One by one, cousins and friends arrived, and soon Dowrin was setting up businesses for them. Dry cleaners, phone repair shops, food stands. Little by little, the town was filled with stores owned by people Surin had brought over. Dowrin used his savings, his knowledge, and his goodwill to get them started. Jaron, now a teenager, watched it all happen. "Why does she keep bringing more people?" he asked Marvi. "Because your father has a kind heart," she replied, but her lips were tight. At 17, Jaron's world cracked. Dowrin was diagnosed with lung cancer. "I've smoked since I was 13, Dowrin admitted quietly. "Guess it caught up to me." Dowrin passed away 2 years later. Jaron was 19, filled with grief and lost dreams. He had always planned to take over the store, but Surin had other plans. "My cousin will manage it," she told him, arms crossed. "You go find something else to do." Her cousin, a smug man with slick hair and loud cologne, took over and filled the store with his own people. Jaron wasn't even allowed near the back door. "This is still my dad's store," he argued once. Surin only smiled and said, "Not anymore." It wasn't just the store. Dowrin had changed his will before his death, under Surin's persuasion. Most of his money went to her. Jaron got a small trust, just enough for 2 years of junior college. "You'll survive," she said bluntly. "Be grateful." Her family already had money, and now she had Dowrin's too. But Jaron didn't fight. "I'd trade all the money in the world just to talk to my dad again," he told Marvi, voice heavy with sadness. She hugged him tight, whispering, "Your father loved you. Always remember that." The moment Jaron turned 18, Surin kicked him out. "This is not your place," she said coldly, standing in the doorway with his suitcase. "Goodbye." The house that Dowrin built with his own hands now belonged to her. Jaron had nowhere to go, but Marvi took him in. Her house was crowded with her own children, but she made space. "Your family," she said. Her husband had died years ago, so Jaron stepped in where he could, fixing pipes, mowing the lawn, and helping with computers. He worked part-time at a local tech shop to save money and gain experience. Jaron tried to move on. He studied hard, focusing on computer engineering. The tech store paid little, but he enjoyed working with hardware. "You've got a real knack for speed builds," his manager said, impressed. Jaron didn't have much, but he was earning a name in their small community. It wasn't long before he met a girl, Nissa. She was smart, kind, and studying to become a nurse. Their relationship grew quickly. "My stepmom's the reason I don't have a home," Jaron once told her. "That's awful," Nissa said. "What's her name?" He hesitated, then finally said it, "Surin." Nissa's eyes widened. "Wait, Did you say Surin? She asked, her voice rising. Yeah, Jaren replied. Why? Nissa called for her brother. Darren, she yelled. Moments later, a heavily tattooed man stepped into the room. What's up? He asked. Jaren's stepmom is Surin, Nissa said. Darren blinked then laughed. No way. That's Surin? Bro, I've been sleeping with your stepmom. Jaren's face turned white. Darren was well known in the neighborhood, a former gang member, now a landscaper with a reputation for wild stories and even wilder behavior. She never mentioned having a stepson, Darren added. Damn. Jaren was stunned. You're serious? He asked, unable to believe it. Darren shrugged, completely unfazed. I didn't know she was your stepmom, bro. But yeah, she's been giving me cash, gifts, whatever I want. Real sugar mama vibes. Jaren glanced at Nissa, who looked equally horrified and fascinated. She's been doing shady stuff too, Darren added. I've been to one of her apartments. That place is like a red light district. Whole building smells like perfume and cigarette smoke. Jaren leaned forward. You mean she's? Darren nodded. Yeah man. She's renting to traffickers. Probably gets a cut of what they earn. The information hit Jaren like a brick. She threw me out of my father's house just to play madam for crooks? He muttered. Nissa was quiet for a moment before saying, She's running for city council, by the way. I saw one of her flyers at the clinic. Jaren's mouth dropped open. Wait, what? She's going into politics. Darren smirked. Yeah. Acting like she's a community hero. Talking about all the businesses she started. Which, by the way, your dad actually started. Jaren clenched his fists. I can't let her get away with this. Darren looked at him with interest. You thinking what I'm thinking? Jaren looked at Nissa. Would you be okay if we did something risky? She nodded slowly. She deserves it. Darren leaned forward. I can get proof. Real proof. You just need to tell me what you need. Something that'll blow her life up, Jaren said quietly. Darren laughed. Then we're going to need a camera, some drugs, and a whole lot of nerve. Jaren raised an eyebrow. You're really willing to help? For my little sister? Darren said, patting Nissa's shoulder. Absolutely. But if you hurt her, I'll cut your balls off. Deal? And just like that, the plan began to form. Darren offered to film Surin secretly during one of their encounters. She's always high anyway, he said. Won't notice a thing. Jaren shook his head. This is insane. But he also couldn't deny the thrill of it. Make sure she mentions the house, he told Darren. And the date. And maybe that she owns the building. Darren nodded. Got it? I'll make it natural. Don't worry, I'm a pro. Nissa just covered her face. I'm never going to unhear this. You won't have to, Darren joked. I'll edit it myself. The day came fast. Darren visited Surin like usual, carrying a small camera tucked into a gym bag. He placed it discreetly on a shelf. You always come prepared, Surin laughed. I like to be thorough, he said. The footage captured everything. Surin doing drugs, laughing about her boyfriend playing mahjong, bragging about the businesses she started, and calling the house her dead husband's gift. At one point she even mocked her current boyfriend. He's soft, she giggled. Not like you. All of it was in her native language but clearly damning. Her face was in full view the entire time. Back at Jaren's room, Darren and Jaren reviewed the footage. Okay, let's skip that part, okay here? They trimmed it down to a 10-second clip, no nudity but crystal clear evidence. Surin's voice, her face, her words. That's it, Jaren said. That's the clip. Nissa peeked in. Done? She asked. Almost, Darren replied. Let me just clean up the audio. What are you going to do with it? She asked. Jaren looked up, his eyes cold for the first time. I'm going to destroy her. And I'm going to do it where it hurts most, on the biggest stage she has. A week later, Surin was scheduled to speak at a city council event. It was being held in a local hotel conference room, open to the public. Jaren prepared carefully. He packed a bazooka Bluetooth speaker and a homemade projector box he'd built himself. You sure this'll work? Nissa asked nervously as she drove him to the venue. If it doesn't, Jaren replied, then I'll just look like a weirdo with a backpack. You're already a weirdo, she teased. He smiled but didn't laugh. Thanks. Darren had already flown back to China, but not before uploading the full video to paid sites. The conference room was dimly lit. Politicians milled about, shaking hands. Surin was scheduled to be the fourth speaker. Jaren took a seat near the front, wearing sunglasses and a beanie. His heart pounded in his chest as the first speaker droned on about streetlights and potholes. He carefully slid the speaker out of his backpack and positioned it near the stage. When Surin finally stepped up, wearing a sleek blue suit and a false smile, he pulled out his phone. "This is for Dad," he whispered, tapping the play button. The screen behind Surin lit up suddenly. A large, clear image appeared, Surin's face in her bedroom laughing. Her voice echoed, "It's September 10th and this is my dead husband's house. Want some ecstasy?" The audience gasped. The room went silent, then chaos erupted. "Is that?" someone shouted. Another voice screamed in Chinese, "That's her. That's Surin." Her boyfriend bolted up from his seat, face red with rage. Jaren let the clip loop once, then grabbed the projector and speaker and slipped quietly out the side exit where Nissa was waiting, car engine running. As he climbed in he couldn't help but grin. "You should have seen her face," he said. "I wish I had," Nissa replied. "Did you say anything before leaving?" "Yeah," he smirked. "This is not a place for you, Surin. You go now. But bye." They drove off, hearts racing. By the weekend they were engaged. Jaren moved in with Nissa and her uncle, closer to his new school. Things were looking up. Nissa was about to become a registered nurse. Jaren was close to finishing his degree. And somewhere in a silent corner of the city, Surin's world was crumbling. News of the conference hall disaster spread like wildfire. Jaren didn't post the clip himself, but he didn't need to. People in the audience had recorded it on their phones, and soon it was making rounds on neighborhood group chats. "Is that really her?" one woman texted in a community WeChat group. "She said that was her dead husband's house," someone else replied. Surin's political dreams crashed overnight. "She disappeared," Marvi told Jaren a few days later. "No one's seen her since." Her campaign website vanished. Her posters were taken down. And the gossip? Endless. Jaren couldn't help but smile when he saw that even Surin's business partners were backing away. "Her boyfriend," Marvi said, shaking her head. "I heard he's furious. Said she made him a fool in front of the whole community." Nissa added, "My friend works at a bank. Says her accounts were frozen for investigation." "So she ran," Jaren concluded. "Coward." "No," Marvi said softly but firmly. "She's exposed. You didn't take revenge out of anger, you fought back because she was rotten." Jaren looked at her with a tight smile. Still, it felt good. They all chuckled. The damage continued. One by one, the businesses Surin's relatives ran began to suffer. "Nobody trusts them anymore," Nissa said. "Everyone thinks they were part of it." A bakery 2 blocks from the tech store shut down. A nail salon closed with a handwritten sign, "Moving to another city." Even her prized apartment buildings, once rented out to shady characters, were investigated by authorities. "They shut one down completely," Darren texted from China. "Whole thing boarded up. Cops all over it." Jaren replied with a single word, "Good." Darren's house, the one Surin had kicked Jaren out of, was also affected. "Foreclosed," Marvi said, handing him a news clipping. "Someone new bought it last week." "Who?" he asked. "White family," she replied. "Only ones on that street now. They're gonna stand out." Jaren smirked. "Hope they paint the walls bright pink." "Petty," Nissa said. "Satisfying," he countered. They laughed. That house had once been filled with dreams, then turned into a den of betrayal. Now at least it was out of Surin's hands. That alone felt like peace. But the clip, oh that infamous clip, had a life of its own. Though most mainstream platforms deleted it quickly due to community guidelines, it lived on through private sharing. "People still asking me for it," Darren texted again. "Told them to pay if they're so desperate." "You're monetizing it?" Jaren replied. "Bro," Darren answered. "This is premium scandal content." "Of course." Jaren rolled his eyes but couldn't deny it. Darren was bold. "You really never miss a chance to hustle," he typed. "Never will," Darren answered. "Also, your stepmom's taste in curtains is awful." Jaren's focus shifted back to his studies. "You've still got a degree to finish," Marvi reminded him. "Don't let this revenge make you forget your future." He nodded. "I haven't forgotten. If anything, this reminded me why I have to build something of my own. Something she can never touch." Nissa smiled proudly. "You're going to make something amazing." "I know it." In the evenings, Jaren helped her with her nursing prep while she quizzed him on circuits and processors. Life finally felt like it was settling into something warm and stable. One night, while watching an old kung fu film with Nissa, Jaren said, "You know, I used to wish my dad had left me the store. Now I realize, he left me more. Nissa leaned against his shoulder. Yeah. He showed me how to stand up, Jaren said. He worked hard, never backed down. Even when people used him. She nodded. You have his spine. And his nose, Jaren added with a chuckle. Yeah, that too, she laughed. But mostly I think he'd be proud of how you fought, not with fists but with brains. Jaren visited Dalrin's grave one Sunday afternoon. The cemetery was quiet, except for birds chirping nearby. He stood silently, hands in pockets. Hey Dad, he began softly. You probably already know, but I did it. I stood up to her. She's gone. The house, the store, everything, she lost it all. He knelt and touched the stone gently. You always told me to fight the right battles. I hope I picked the right one. A breeze rustled the leaves above, and Jaren took it as a sign. I miss you. I hope I made you proud. Meanwhile, in hushed corners of the city, people still whispered about Surin. Some believed she had escaped to another state. Others said she returned to her homeland under a fake name. Darren claimed she called him once from an unknown number. She begged me to delete the footage, he said, offered me 10 grand. Did you? Jaren asked. Darren snorted. Nah. I told her the truth, I don't even have it anymore. Sold it to a guy in Malaysia for 20. Jaren raised an eyebrow. And people say I'm petty. You're a saint compared to me, Darren replied. Jaren no longer looked back with bitterness. Surin's downfall had been swift and public, but it wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming what had been stolen. His voice, his dignity, his father's name. We can start house hunting soon, Nissa said one evening. You think we'll have a little yard? Only if we get a dog, he replied. She smiled. Deal. They toasted to their future with orange soda and takeout noodles. For the first time in years, Jaren felt free, not just from Surin but from the shadow she cast over everything he loved. Word of Jaren's quiet victory continued to ripple through the community. Some older neighbors who once praised Surin for her hard work, now crossed the street when her name was mentioned. She fooled everyone, one man muttered outside the local tea shop. But the truth came out. The tech store where Jaren worked started getting more customers. People who respected what he did. You're that boy, one customer said, pointing. The one who exposed the witch at the council meeting. Jaren smiled politely. I just told the truth, he said. But inside he felt the satisfaction burn gently like coal. Darren's fame also soared, though in stranger ways. People call me Dragon Mike now, he texted Jaren. I don't know why, but I'm running with it. You always did like nicknames, Jaren replied. You're welcome, Darren shot back with a winking emoji. He sent selfies from rooftop restaurants in Beijing, each one more outrageous than the last. In one he was holding a cigar next to a koi pond. Life is good, he wrote. You ever need help bringing someone down again, just call. Jaren shook his head, laughing. That guy's completely insane, he told Nissa. But useful. Back at home, Marvi began to smile more often. Feels like our house is lighter, she said while preparing dinner. Like a curse has been lifted. Jaren looked around. The windows glowed with warm light. His cousins laughed softly in the background. The old dining table, once too cramped, now felt full in a good way. You've given us all peace, Marvi added. Your dad would be proud. Jaren nodded slowly. I hope he's watching, he whispered. I really do. He is, she replied. And he's smiling. At his part-time job, Jaren was offered a promotion. You're not just good with machines, his manager said. You've got heart. People noticed that. The offer came with a small pay bump and more hours, but Jaren accepted it with grace. I'll take it, he said. I want to grow. The manager smiled. We'll make you the face of our custom-build department. As long as I don't have to wear a mascot suit, Jaren joked. No promises, the manager said. Everyone laughed. Things, for once, were clicking into place. Nissa passed her licensing exam and officially became a registered nurse. They celebrated with a home-cooked meal from Marvi and music blasting through the speakers. To the nurse and the nerd, Darren toasted via video call from a noisy street in Taipei. May your marriage be legal, loving, and never boring. Cheers to that, Nissa laughed, clinking her cup of malt drink against Jaren's. You know, she added later, I never thought I'd fall in love with someone whose stepmom used to pay my brother for extracurricular services. Jaren groaned. Can we please never bring that up again? Despite the good days, the scars were still there. Jaren would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, his mind replaying the moments Surin threw him out. You go now. Those words haunted him. He'd lie awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, thinking of his dad, the store, the betrayal. But Nissa was always there beside him, pulling him back. "You're not that boy anymore," she whispered once. "You're not lost. You found your way." And slowly the memories began to hurt less. One evening, while walking past his dad's old neighborhood, Jaren stopped in front of the store. It had changed, new name, different owners. But the shape of the windows was the same. He stared at the glass for a long time before stepping inside. "Can I help you?" the new owner asked. Jaren shook his head gently. "Just looking," he replied. He wandered the aisles, remembering where the candy was kept, where he once stocked the rice bags, where his father once stood laughing behind the counter. He left with nothing in hand but his heart full. Outside he looked up at the sky. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For the lessons. For the strength." A breeze brushed past him, just like the one at the cemetery. And Jaren smiled. He didn't need to own the store. He didn't need to win in court. He had already reclaimed everything that truly mattered. His voice, his courage, and the legacy of his father. Revenge had been sweet, but what came after was even sweeter. Healing. Weeks passed. Jaren and Nissa moved into a small apartment near her hospital. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. "We'll upgrade when you become a tech mogul," she teased. "We'll see," he laughed. They kept things simple. Home-cooked dinners, shared books, silly dance-offs in the kitchen. "This is peace," he said one night. "You earned it," Nissa whispered. "So did you." They curled up together, warm and safe, the chaos of the past finally behind them, for now. But in another city far from Sarila, a woman named Surin sat alone in a dimly lit apartment, her name whispered in scandal, her power gone, her ambitions burned to ash. The world had moved on without her. But her eyes, once proud and cold, now shimmered with something unfamiliar, regret. Or maybe just rage waiting to resurface. For in the shadows of her disgrace she was planning something she hoped would bring her back. And Jaren? He had no idea what was coming next. Weeks turned into months. Jaren was now tutoring part-time, building gaming PCs for clients, and even designing his first prototype for a portable projector. "It's got enough brightness for a small conference," he told Nissa proudly. "Think anyone would buy it?" "I'd buy 5, she said, hugging him from behind. His days were busy, but his heart was light. No more looking over his shoulder. No more burning questions. Just forward movement, slow but certain. "You don't realize how heavy anger is," he once told Marvy, "until you finally put it down." Surin never returned. Rumors floated now and then. She was seen in Vancouver, someone spotted her in Bangkok, but none of it ever came to anything. She had become a ghost in her own story, a woman once obsessed with building an empire, now reduced to whispers. Her relatives distanced themselves, changing business names and pretending they never knew her. Even her old boyfriend, the mahjong addict, vanished. No one mourned the loss. In the end, the city had rejected her not with fire, but with silence. Jaren graduated with honors. At the ceremony, Nissa waved like crazy and shouted his name loud enough for the whole row to laugh. Afterward, he hugged Marvy tightly. "Couldn't have done this without you," he whispered. "You were my real home." "You made it," she said, eyes wet. "You're free now." That evening, the whole family gathered for a small celebration with music, jollof rice, and toasts made in orange soda bottles. "To survival," Jaren said. "To peace," Nissa added. And Darren, who joined by video, raised a glass of who knows what and said, "To revenge done right." Sometime later, Jaren stood in front of a new store. This one wasn't big. No flashing lights. Just a modest tech repair and build shop with a logo he designed himself. Inside, the walls were lined with computer parts and display units. Dowrin Systems, the sign read in smooth silver lettering. Nissa walked in holding 2 cups of coffee. "You ready for day one?" she asked. Jaren smiled. "I've been ready since I was 10. The door chimed as their first customer stepped in. The future had finally arrived. And somewhere, as the sun dipped below the rooftops of Sarila, a gentle wind rustled through the trees, passing through old neighborhoods, empty lots, and past the house where Jaren once lived. In that breeze was the quiet voice of a father, proud and at peace. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't the loudest, it's simply living well, rising above, and building a life so solid, no one can ever take it away again. What would you have done in Jaren's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you felt that revenge was served fire, tap that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to African Echoes by Devanga. 4 more jaw-dropping stories every week.